Hello and welcome to the WhyKnox podcast brought to you by Visit Knoxville. My name is Jody Collins of Feral Giant and I'll be your host on this journey. What we'll be doing is interviewing different folks around Knoxville that make Knoxville the great place it is to live. We'll have staples that you see around town all the time, but we'll also have some lesser known folks, people behind the scenes that make this a great city. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And if you'd like to share the podcast on social media, be sure to tag us at Visit Knoxville and use the hashtag WhyKnox. Without much further ado, here's the episode.
My name is Brandon Gibson. By day, I am a teller for SunTrust, now Truist. By night, however, I am do a little bit of everything. I am the managing director for Marble City Opera, and I also perform with them. I'm also a freelance actor and singer, so I sing with the Knoxville Opera Chorus and for churches and entertainment events around town. A freelance master of ceremonies, and so I MC for concerts and fundraisers, that sort of thing. I've worked with the Breaststrokes, group of folks that I love, and good buddies with the folks at Blank Newspaper. So I've done Blank Fest when they used to do that, emceed for that, and then Second Bell, their current incarnation.
Right.
Also the Old City Oktoberfest. Those folks, I've emceed events for them. Also in my free time, I do voiceover work for East Tennessee PBS, specifically a lot of stuff with their Black and Appalachia series. So I do a lot of voiceover stuff for them. And what else? Also write the occasional article for Blank Newspaper, so writer as well, thrown in there. And I'm a guy about the town, downtown guy.
It was nice having you on, Brandon. That's all we
Now that's your time,
right? Are you originally from Knoxville?
I'm not originally from Knoxville, no.
Where are you from?
I'm a Navy brat originally, so I was born in North Carolina, in a little bitty town called Plymouth, North Carolina, about an hour south of the North Carolina-Virginia border, and 45 minutes from Nags Head and Kill Devil Hill on the coast. So I was born there. And then my mom married my stepdad, and so we lived in Virginia, the Navy base of their big Navy presence, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and then Jacksonville, Florida, went to middle school down there. And then we moved back to my hometown in North Carolina, forgetting how small it was after being in Jacksonville. And then we moved to Knoxville because my stepdad's originally from Memphis. And with my mom being from the coast of North Carolina, Knoxville was kind of halfway in between both sets of family. And so I got here in the 10th grade.
Okay.
And went to, so I claim it now. I've been here half my life. I went to Austin East High School over on MLK. And then UT, obviously, and here we are still.
Let's see. What was the thought about going to UT? Did you think about going somewhere else since you had kind of traveled so much, or were you good with sticking with UT?
I did. I auditioned at Belmont and thought about going to Belmont and Vandy even, but it was so expensive. And then also a little tiny college in Georgia I seriously considered going to too, called Oglethorpe. They had a really good communications program, and originally I wanted to major in communications.
Okay.
But I don't know, liked UT, didn't have anything against UT, and that was the thing. A lot of my classmates in high school had been around the whole UT system for so long that nobody was going to UT because they were like, "Oh, I'm tired of this place." Blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I got nothing against it. So
yeah,
they gave me the most scholarship money, so I said, okay, why not?
Right. After college, did you move away or did you stay in town? Have you lived here since 10th grade? Or
I have lived here since 10th grade, yeah.
Okay.
After college, I just started working, but I don't know, started doing a lot of the community theater stuff.
Okay.
Immediately after, I started up with Shakespeare in the Square. I did that for 2 summers, and I don't know, Knoxville is fortunate to have a really great arts community.
Right.
And so I have always, just continuously since college, had something to do, some performance opportunity, something somewhere,
Yeah.
between Knoxville Opera, um, and then the word players. I've done a lot of stuff with them.
Okay.
Stuff, man. Just stuff comes up.
Stuff, general stuff.
Yeah, general stuff.
I served under general stuff when I was in. Sorry, that's a hackneyed Jimmy Pardo
No
joke.
relation to General So, though. He's
Yeah.
royalty.
um,
Quarantine makes comedians of us all.
Was your mom in the Navy? Or
My stepdad was in the Navy.
stepdad? What did your mom do for a living?
My mom was actually a crafter. She ran a craft business.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so that is how I actually, I don't know, kind of got acclimated to Tennessee in general. I remember when I first moved here, it's a different pace of life than the coast. Forget, big city, small city. It's just, I don't know, they're a little different on the coast than they are in the mountains and the foothills, over here. And so that was a bit rough in the immediate transition moving over here.
Yeah.
And so my mom had a craft business. And so we would go to these random little towns in Tennessee where it's beautiful. The community will have usually one thing that they're good at, and they'll have a festival about that one thing every year. And so, like the Granger County Tomato Festival or something, I remember well, or, if they're good at barbecue, they'll have a barbecue festival. If they grow apples, they'll have an apple festival.
There's a small town that does the cornbread festival.
Exactly.
Like 4 hours away. And I'm like, I'm not driving 4 hours for cornbread.
Yeah. But we would do like a lot of those. And so basically my mom would set, a range, all right, how far am I willing to go? And how much am I willing to pay to get in? And so she would do that on the weekends. And so she crocheted and also made, did like teddy bears. And she would do these little things called blessing balls. And they were sachets that were cinnamon scented. And so she'd make a bunch of those. And we'd go to random town in Tennessee, Bell Buckle or something, Stopgap or something, for their, once a year, whatever festival. And that was how I got acclimated to Tennessee and how, kind of fell in love with the area. And so that's what she did really.
Okay.
All of my life. I think she worked outside of the home once when I was in elementary school when I was little. I remember, so this is before his email and all of that stuff, to communicate with ships while they're deployed. They have this thing called a USOgram, which is basically email, electronic message, but to the ship, wherever it was in the world. And I remember she worked there briefly, but I was in like the 3rd grade or something. And I remember she had to work late one day or something. And so I was hungry. And so I said, all right, I got to, make something for dinner here. And so I remember making like spaghetti because I'd seen her make spaghetti before. And I used the cheese sauce from some macaroni and cheese, a 3rd grade meal. But I, made the spaghetti and I mixed in the, the macaroni and cheese sauce. And I ate some, and I saved her some. And when she got home, she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I was late. Blah, blah, blah. I know you're hungry." And I was like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. Here, Mom, I made you some." And I remember holding up this crunchy spaghetti and cheese sauce, and she like broke down. She was like, "Oh, what have I done?"
Oh my God.
And so that was the last time she worked from outside of the home. Then she was like, "No, I failed." And so from there on, she just did the crafts. But it's a good time.
That's funny. Although, imagine the alternate, the sliding doors. If you had made something masterful,
exactly,
you may have stayed in that field.
I know. And here I am now. I'm a great cook now, but it started with crunchy spaghetti and macaroni and cheese sauce.
I'll go a little side tangent. I don't know how I figured this out, but do you remember? You may be too. Quincy's or Ryan's buffet?
I remember Ryan's.
Okay, Quincy's was before that.
Uh,
Somehow I figured out the only thing I liked on the salad bar were croutons, Thousand Island dressing, and bacon bits. So I called it, here you go, crouton salad.
oh my God.
That's all I ate in like middle school and high school was crouton salad.
Wow.
And I still get made fun of that till this day of like, you ate what? And what's funny is one of my best friends switched it from Thousand Island to ranch. I was like, dude, that's disgusting. And I said that to somebody recently. I was like, because that's gross. And they're like, no, the whole thing is gross.
I was going to say, we've got to examine what we're doing here. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. So opera. What was your first experience with opera? Was it audio? Did you see it live? Like,
I kind of fell into opera, honestly. Okay. I've always sung, sung in, church growing up, that sort of thing. But I could never sing like, the guys on the radio. It was never, I grew up in the days of, Boys to Men and Usher and that sort of thing. And I could always sing, but it wasn't like that. I was just really good at choir.
Okay.
And so, and I remember like chorus in school. I was always, there was always a lack of men in chorus in general, but basically you could have me and, we don't need any more men. Brandon's here. And, the 30 or 40, whoever else, and it would be all right. And so I remember, this is my original plan. I thought I've always found public speaking to be, easy, and I always liked radio and that sort of thing. So my original plan was I'll major in communications, be on the radio, maybe do, broadcasting or something like that. But they took us to see, what was it? I think it was my junior year in high school during the Rossini Festival. They took us to see at the Bijou, I'll never forget, Suor Angelica, and also Signor Crescino, I think it was called.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, these guys sing like me. That's what you do with it, because I didn't fully know what to do with that. I was like, I've got a cannon in my voice, a cannon in my throat, rather. Yeah. And I'm really good at choir, but what do you do with that in life? And I saw these guys, and I was like, oh, that's what you do with it in life. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was really blessed. I took voice lessons. So let me rewind. And so my junior year in high school, we did this program that got all the magnet schools together and a bunch of the local media, and it was about the life of George Washington Carver.
Okay.
And Bill, what's the man's name? He does the Heartland series.
Bill Landry.
Bill Landry, excuse me. Bill Landry was really heavily involved with that project, and I think was maybe the narrator of it. And I had a solo in the program or whatever it was, and he heard me and was like, "Oh, what are you doing with that?" And I was like, "Oh, I sing around, blah blah blah." And he said, "You know what? You've got a gift. I want to pay for you to have voice lessons." And so and so that was my junior year. And so all of my senior year, I took voice lessons with a lady, deceased now, but a wonderful lady named Peggy Howard.
Okay. Here
in town, and took voice lessons and started doing kind of like the scholarship competition circuit in town, did a couple of those, and then auditioned for, like I said, UT and Belmont, and was thinking about going over there, but ended up being a finalist for the Grace Moore Scholarship here at UT. Didn't win that, but got, enough to where it was, hey, go to UT.
Yeah.
And and then from there, even still, I was just like, okay, I'm a voice major now. Now what?
Yeah.
And I remember the opera director at UT at the time was a wild man named Carol Freeman. And I was just kind of walking by the opera room one day, And Carol said, "Hey, Brandon, you want to come and be in the opera? We need some men." And 18-year-old Brandon said, "Sure, Mr. Freeman." And there we were in the opera. And then even likewise before that, I got involved with Knoxville Opera. My high school choir director, second semester, that spring semester, senior year, saw an ad in the paper. And once it was decided that I was going to UT, she was like, "Oh, hey, you're going to UT. Here's this ad in the paper that says Knoxville Opera needs some men. You should go and sing for them." And so I said, okay. And went, 17-year-old Brandon went to the Knoxville Opera studio with and sung for Don Townsend, great man, one of my favorite people in the world. There, sang for him to get into the chorus, and he said, "Sure, bud, why not?" And so, if you know Don, that's exactly Don. He said, "All right, sure."
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's really how opera started. Just kind of
was
there.
Was that solo in the George Washington Carver thing the first time you did a solo, or had you done solos before?
Do you remember solos before?
Okay. Do you remember?
Yeah, I done solos before.
Do you remember the first one?
Oh yeah, totally. First solo was technically a duet, but when I was living in Jacksonville during middle school, Beauty and the Beast, the tale was all this time, and so they were doing that, and 20 girls went up for the girl part, and I think there were maybe 10 of us guys in choir, but everybody was kind of like, "Brandon, you kind of looked at me." So I think one of my other friends went up for it, but really it was just, "Okay, Brandon, you got this." And so but that was my first I credit it as my first solo.
Okay.
Because I'd done some singing before that in Virginia, maybe a line or two in the school assembly or something like that. But my first, walk out, center stage, here's the mic,
Yeah.
we're gonna do it solo, was that one, Beauty and the Beast at the school assembly.
Let's see. Okay, and shifting gears a little bit, what made you choose the downtown life?
It's my entire concept of Knoxville. And so when we moved here, we lived in a housing development behind Alex Haley Park.
Okay.
Which is steps beyond the murder waggles, as we call it.
I'm curious. So when I grew up here, and East Side Y was my gym for a bunch of years. Like I would be the only white boy.
There you go.
Yeah, back when Big Mike used to run it. Big Mike, who used to run it, was the Tough Man competition winner. And nobody messed with Big Mike. Even my dad, who's not a small guy, imagine that. He's like, "That's Big Mike. Nobody messes with we don't mess with Big Mike." I was like, "Okay, Dad. Okay, Dad. Wait.
Okay, yes, sir."
Versus you, for me, it would have been, "Oh, okay, Dad."
That's amazing.
But yeah, it used to be East Side Y. I can't remember what it's called now. It's a community center now, but yeah. So I know exactly where you're talking.
And so I was downtown every day because it was right there, Yeah. And so, my first job ever, I worked at the Food City on Nashville Highway, and so I'd catch the bus, from work, and back then the bus stop was different than it was before, the full station, kind of where the library is now. And so if I caught the right bus and made it on time, then I'd transfer and catch the one that went by my house. Yeah. But if I was late and missed one, then I'd just walk from Walnut to Dandridge, which was whatever. But it was through the emptiness that was downtown 20 years ago,
Yeah.
And so so from there to UT, and then by the time I was out of UT, I had an apartment with some college buddies not far away, maybe on Middlebrook Pike.
Okay.
All of our socialization was downtown, and I live in South Knoxville now, a mile away. So that's what I mean. My entire Knoxville at this point, 18 years has been.
It's a little circle.
Exactly. It's like 2-mile radius around downtown.
Oh,
It feels like it's grown up alongside me.
Yeah.
From me being 15 to 33 now, it spans my entire adult life. From
it's like I've moved from here to here.
Yeah, exactly.
What are some of your favorite places to go around town?
Oh, my favorite places. I love live music. So as a musician, it's one of my favorite things to see other people perform to. Love to support, my friends, whatever type of music they play. If they're rock musicians or jazz musicians or other singers or what. So I love Preservation Pub, that whole empire of establishments. Kind of started from my Shakespeare in the Square days.
Okay.
I would get off of work and I would have, an hour and a half before, rehearsal started for Shakespeare. And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to go home for an hour and a half. Let me sit somewhere and learn my lines. And so the pub was right there. And so that all those years ago, here we are today. From there, and then the Downtown Grill and Brewery, a classic, some of my favorite people there. So I remember, I think the first year that I did Shakespeare in the Square, you rehearse and do the shows all summer and you get a stipend at the end.
Nice.
But, for a 22-year-old, 23-year-old at the time, that whole, however much I got was allocated instantly from 2 or 3 months of summertime. I was like, well, I got to pay this, man. I remember having, just the $30 left to get a Mug Club membership. And I was like, reward yourself, Brandon. Treat yourself, as they say. And I bought my Mug Club membership with like my remaining $30 and, but they're some of my favorite people ever in the world. I love them. Apart from that, like I said, I'm a downtown guy. I love Bistro at the Bijou. Great food over there. It's my favorite brunch in town, probably. Barley's, I love. I'm really good friends with the guy that runs Central Depot. Love them. And of course, Stanton over at Postmodern Spirits. Love them. Mariah, next door at Pour. All those folks. Sweet Peas, I love. Jonathan, we were auctioned off for charity together. So, lifelong friends there. We've been in the trenches.
Nice.
I love what downtown has become. Like I said, because I remember when it was nothing. I tell people you could watch a plastic bag float from one end of Market Square to the other and it not hit anything over the course of like a week.
That's the funny part is I had friends, this was like 5 or 6 years ago. They're like, oh, we've lived here 5 years. It's grown so much. I was like, man, when I was growing up, there were bars on the windows.
Yeah.
Like in the 80s, you did not go downtown at night. Like it was brutal. There were bars on the windows. Nothing was open past a certain time.
I remember the only things there, that Subway has been there forever.
Subway.
Pizza's been there forever, and Tomato Head. But other than that, I mean,
I predate even Tomato Head. What's funny is there used to be a record store on Market Square when I was a kid.
Wow.
Yeah. But I remember, I still have this vivid memory, although I can't tell you which tape it is. I can tell you after the recording which tape it is. But I was a little kid, and I bought my first tape there. I had already had tapes that like my dad or mom.
Yeah.
But I can still remember it pouring rain outside and looking through the bars on the windows. I don't know why I have that memory, but I still remember that.
That's amazing.
I'll tell you when we stop recording what that is. It's somebody we cannot talk about anymore. So somebody who has been kind of cut off, but we won't get into
I got you.
Okay, so that's some of the places. Okay, now I have 2 questions that are opera related. What, like, I know Marble City Opera, kind of talk about, because you all don't just perform in one place. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
What we do.
Yeah.
So we perform in found spaces. And what that means is that we will perform really wherever. We pick a different venue for each show, and we pick something that matches, kind of aids in the storytelling for whatever that particular opera is. We like to focus on, newer opera and opera that's in English and that focuses on modern themes, and it's kind of more homegrown. And so we have done a couple of things. We'll continue to do a couple of things in, more traditional venues. But our main thing is we like to take it to the people. That's our whole thing.
Yeah.
That it was Marble City Opera was founded by Catherine Frady and Kevin Doherty, who was at the time a student at UT, a graduate student, and they were looking for, they wanted to make opera more accessible, and they wanted to, kind of take it to the people, and kind of take some of the shine off of it. And I came on, shortly thereafter, really just as a performer. We were actually just talking about it. One of our first like events we did was at a restaurant that's no longer on Market Square. It was a Bella Luna, was an Italian restaurant.
Oh yeah.
We did like a night of arias there, and I performed with them then. And then I think less than a week later, Bella Luna closed. We always joke, "Oh, we shut it down. We were too good." But, so I was just performing with them at first, and then Kevin moved on to different opportunities. And so the founder, Catherine Frady, asked me, "Hey, will you help me out with this thing?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And so here we are. It's been, this is our, I believe, 7th season.
Okay.
Currently, and I've been managing director for 3 years now. 3 years in February, but I've sung with them since the beginning, and that's our whole thing. We find as opera singers that the minute you say the word opera, people tense up and they're like, "Oh, I got to put on my suit and tails, and I got to go to the Tennessee." And you say, "Come see the show," and they're like, "Oh, I don't have $100 to spend or a suit to wear, whatever." And we're like, "Hey, man, it's not that type of party. Yes, those things are nice. Yes, it's great to get dressed up and go to the Tennessee or somewhere to see a show, but those aren't the defining characteristics of what the art form is. And it doesn't have to be in a different language. It's just as American and just as relatable as anything else.
Right.
Just like musical theater, because people are singing about the same things that they've always sung about. Love, lust, loss. Drinking. Heartbreak. It's all the same stuff, just sung differently.
Yeah.
And so our whole goal is to kind of take the shine off of it and say, hey, people are still writing operas. It's not, 100 years old or whatever. Hey, guys are writing operas right now.
Yeah.
Women are writing operas right now. People of color are writing operas right now. They're in English. They're beautiful. They're relatable. We promise you'll have a good time if you just give it a chance.
Yeah.
And people will love it, because it's a different thing to see or to experience an opera singer up close. Everyone knows somebody that can sing, and you see singers all your life. You go to concerts and church or wherever your whole life, but usually your concept of that is somebody with a microphone and maybe guitar or something, and the sound is there, but it's coming through the speakers.
Right.
And to be up close and personal right next to an opera singer, someone who's using, the main difference about opera is how you produce the sound. And I had an old voice teacher that would say, every hollow place in your head is there for the amplification of sound. So all your sinus cavities and everything, that's what they're there for, to amplify the sound. And so when you are next to an opera singer, you are next to both the instrument and the speaker. And it kind of blows people's minds, because they're like, "Oh, wow, that sound is coming from that, person." There are certainly some opera singers, our size, big guys, whatever. But then there are also some that are, 95 pounds soaking wet. And it's the same amount of awesome sound that's coming out of them, because they know what they're doing. And people are unused to experiencing that. It was really thrilling and a different type of storytelling And so, and like I said, a lot of it is in English as well. So yeah, you can experience that. You don't have to get dressed up, and it's in your language. You can understand what's going on. And to our kind of our gypsy way of doing things, you can be in a really exciting venue that adds to the storytelling. You don't have to sit and watch someone 100 feet away on a stage with a piece of fabric behind them. Now, if we're singing about kind of one of our recent shows we did, Sor Angelica takes place in a monastery, and so we performed it in the courtyard of a cathedral at St. John's, and so you don't have to imagine that you're in a cathedral. You're in a cathedral, you
Yeah.
know, and stuff like that. It adds to it.
Well, it's I was going to say what are some of the venues, but I remember the one I saw in Candora where it was one person performing.
Yeah.
I was right on top. There were times where I was like, I think she's going to lean. I think she actually did lean on me at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was wild.
Yeah, that was the one at Candora Marble.
Yeah.
Chosen because, what was that? I can't think of the name right now, but it was kind of Greek influenced. And so, what's more Greek than marble? And you think of statues and that sort of thing. And so, we are called Marble City. Why? Because, or Knoxville is called the Marble City because why? This great marble deposit and the artsman that was from here. Why not take the show there and do that? And it ended up being, I remember because she was Sarah Toth was that performer, and little bitty, 95 pounds soaking wet, but when she let loose in those marble halls in there, like you said, you felt it and you were right there on it. I remember I sat, in one of the rehearsals there, and I was probably like, is she gonna follow me? She's gonna follow me. Okay, this is happening right now.
Yeah. And then you would have people just come out of the wings and sing along. I think there were people that were like all black that would back her up. It was wild. But what are some of the other places you all have performed?
Let's see. We've used. We did a show at Jackson Terminal called "Postcard from Morocco," and that was set in a train station in the opera, and so kind of a natural thing there. We did a traditional production of the famous La Traviata, and that takes place inside of a mansion. So we did that at Historic Westwood, which was very cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of like our prime example because we were able to set up a small orchestra in basically the living room, and we had a camera set up on the conductor, and we had a closed circuit screen system set up in each room and a monitor display so that the singers could look at the monitor and follow the stick live and stay with the conductor in the living room as we moved through the other rooms of the home. That was really cool. And then this most recent show that we just finished, Shadowlight, about Buford Delaney, we did that inside of the Beck Cultural Center, which happens to be next door to where Delaney grew up, one of his family's homes. And so, and basically the street that he grew up on. And so that's another one. We did Follow Suit, which was about a hotel bartender. And that one we did at Windows on the Park. We're up there, so. Yeah. And so, kind of whatever our artistic director, Catherine, is very creative in that regard, just kind of visionary. So she usually has a vision when she's thinking about a show. She's thinking, okay, where's somewhere cool that we can put it on that'll add to it.
I can't wait till you all perform in a Waffle House. It's going to be
perfect. You started the Waffle House opera, and I mean, hey,
that would be insane. Like that.
I feel like we'd have to perform it at 3 a.m.
Oh yeah.
Which I mean,
And it's almost one of those. I would almost want the audience to sit outside and somehow speakers pipe, so you just look through the glass.
Yes, because it's kind of like a natural, like proscenium right there. Yeah. What's going on?
Like, what? And just seeing the look on people's faces as they drive up, be like, I got. Yeah. That'd be amazing. Anyway, sorry, that's my own suggestion.
Somebody out there get to writing that.
Yeah. Ain't no time like the present.
Right?
You mentioned Alex Haley Park. Do you get around to the parks or out into any of the parks in the city that much?
I do not, which is ironic because now I have nothing but free time. But usually I stay, pretty busy between, the stuff that we have going on with Marble City, and then, being in the chorus for the KO shows, and then the other random
You
stuff.
listed a million things at the beginning. Come on, man.
Yeah, usually I'm doing one of those things, and so I don't get out a whole lot into nature, but I kind of live across the street from Fort Dickerson. I should go over there at some point.
Oh, man.
Now that I'm thinking about it,
Yeah. How's the time? How's the time? It's
Right.
beautiful outside.
Oh, man. Tell me about it. I know.
Okay. Parks. So let's see. What do you think of those changes since you've been here?
I love it.
Okay.
Like I say, it feels like it's mirrored my life as an adult from moving here when I was 15 to you can't do anything after the streetlights come on anyway, so there shouldn't be anything.
Yeah.
To being, 18 and 21, and now there's a handful of things, but you can only go if you know where to go and you're cool enough to get there. To being, young adult, 21 to 30. Now things are happening, things are opening up, things are being tried out and failing, but it's kind of new. And then now when I'm 33, 34 in June, now it's like, oh man, people I know are starting stuff, and you can even start something if you wanted to, if you get the the funding for it and had a good enough idea and try it out.
Yeah.
And so it feels very much like it's kept pace with me as an adult, and I feel like we're in a really good place as a city. Specifically, again, my whole perspective of Knoxville is downtown, so I can speak to that specifically. But I love how the efforts are being made to turn us into a kind of a more convention town, with all the hotels being made, and we've got the restaurant scene, the nightlife, and I think it was a big step for that concert to go down in Nayland in the fall, but because it's always been kind of a miracle of logistics and people, how for 8 Saturdays in the fall, 150,000 people can converge on this 2-mile block and so that's huge, but it only happens 8 times a year.
Yeah.
If the city can find a way to replicate that, even squeeze another 8 of those out throughout the rest of the year, it would be huge for everybody. And I think the push is being made for that, and it really just helps all the stuff that goes on down here as well. Like I serve on the board of directors for the Big Ears Festival as well, and just increased capacity for people to come in for events like that. Other things that go on, like Rhythm and Blooms, I hope it comes back, and just all the stuff that all the festivals that they have going on, it just increases the infrastructure that they have for, capacity, everything. And if we can get, like I said, it doesn't have to be the full 150K every weekend, but, if you get 50,000 people coming to downtown every weekend, it'd be huge for all of those businesses and just huge for Knoxville in general. I don't want us to grow too big. I like being a medium-sized city, but it helps everybody. The more you have helps business, it helps just everything out. So
yeah, I was thinking 10 or 15 years ago, I was thinking, well, what kind of performers could we get into Nayland? I was like, man, if you did mega shows, I was thinking of if you coupled Springsteen with somebody, easily. I'm hoping, well, I was going to say, I'm hoping to skew a little bit away from country. I would like to see, like The Who, or, somebody.
Diversify, just, I hope they had to go with something first. I understand something, a surefire hit.
Yeah.
And so one of the greatest selling artists of all time, we get it.
Yeah.
But once you get it going, then you can kind of open it up and say, all right, now who do we want?
Next
Who
up,
can we?
I can't wait. It's going to be Boys to Men, Shy, Silk.
Yeah.
Let's get In Vogue in there. Let's get SWV.
I'm saying that's one amazing concert. That's just one night.
I was trying to go deep cuts. I was like, Silk and
Right.
SWV are some pretty deep cuts.
Right.
Like, and then immediately back down.
And then back down. We're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Put Tony Braxton in there.
Yeah.
Anita Baker. I'd forget Anita Baker.
That's too highfalutin, man. That's too high.
Come on.
No, I think right now, I think like Janet's going back on tour, and getting somebody like Janet paired with somebody else in there would
be amazing.
murder. Yeah. And that would be the second Jackson. See, I saw the Jackson 5 perform there in like 84, 85. So
what?
My dad still got Pepsi cans of that tour. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Anyway,
I mean, we've got great history in Knoxville, and I think great stuff passes through here all the time. I think we're getting to the point now to where, I mean, yes, things will always pass us on the way to Atlanta or Nashville, whatever. Right. But we're becoming a destination in our own right.
For sure.
And that's huge. Because I always tell friends of mine, whenever we have, we'll get cool shows now on like a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night or something. And it's like, oh, yes, it's Tuesday night. Yes, we've all got to work tomorrow. But we still have to go so that eventually these people will come on Friday night or Saturday night instead of just stopping here on their way to Atlanta on Friday night,
Yeah. So kind of in that vein, what do you think the future holds for Knoxville?
I definitely think we're getting to if not quite a Friday, Saturday night big act, maybe a Thursday night. We're right there on the cusp, a mid-major city, kind of a hub, because I feel like just geographically our location kind of lends itself to being a hub. We're that close to 3 international airports if you put in Charlotte, Atlanta, and Nashville. And so we're right there. And this really is a great city. I think we've got a low to moderate cost of living here. And we've got access to the university system right there, and to Oak Ridge. And so you have a talent pool that a lot of different industries can draw from. And so what that means, you can get a lot of people in who are going to make decent salaries, who are going to benefit from the low to moderate cost of living. So they'll have disposable income that they'll want to, spend on stuff. And so it lets you have, arts stuff and community engagement stuff. And, it's good for everyone involved. I think we can be a little deeper than just a, hotel and restaurant city. I mean, we can be more.
Yeah.
I think that's a step in the direction, but I think we can be more, kind of become a real destination, just one of those places that, I'm trying to think of other cities that are like it, where places that are just like, this place is just cool.
Yeah. That's okay. We don't have to mention any of those.
Yeah.
Competition.
No name dropping, no competition.
Okay, so where can folks follow you and or Marble City Opera, or both?
So our Facebook page for Marble City Opera is just at facebook.com/Marble City Opera. You can follow us on Instagram at Marble City Opera as well. Yeah. And on Twitter, again, at Marble City Opera. We cornered that market. If you want to follow me, I'm Brandon Gibson. I have an artist page on Facebook, Brandon J. Gibson. There's a football player who was just Brandon Gibson. And then there's also, ironically, there's another Brandon J. Gibson, who's also a baritone and an opera singer.
Oh my God.
He's a white guy in Texas. So not the white guy in Texas, but the black guy in Knoxville.
You got to meet up. Like that's.
Apparently he's a nice guy. So Catherine, our executive artistic director, Catherine, is from Texas. She knows the guy. She's like, he's nice. But he's no you. Yeah, she throws that in there every time. She's like, "Oh yeah, he's cold, but he's not. You got nothing to worry about." So I'm like, "All right, good," because that was my first thought. We got to have a throwdown. But he's all right. All right.
An opera battle. Yeah.
There's room enough for the both of us. So you can follow me there. Again, Brandon J. Gibson.
Okay.
I post about stuff that I'm doing. Like I said, I kind of do a little bit of everything. So if I'm on a documentary or something, I'll put it there. Or if I'm emceeing something, I'm there. Of course, I'm singing somewhere at a an event or in a show or at a whatever. I post it there as well.
All right. Thanks so much.
There you go. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.